Today I'm diving deep into Hera AI, an AI motion graphics tool promising to turn your ideas into animations in seconds. You might have seen other reviews praising Hera, but does it really live up to the hype? Or are they just hiding the flaws just to cash in on affiliate commissions? I'm going to give you my honest perspective after days of testing the paid Pro plan. So if you've been wondering whether Hera AI is actually useful for creators like us and want an honest review of its strengths and limitations, then stick around. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Hera can do and what it can't, so you can decide whether it fits your content workflow. So what is Hera AI? It's an AI-powered motion graphics animation tool. You feed it prompts, templates or ideas, and it generates animated content. Things like text animations, charts, visual transitions, intros, logo animations, infographics, and more. It's meant to make motion design more accessible, especially for creators who don't want to learn programs like Adobe After Effects or spend hours animating manually. On the website, you can choose from many templates, remix existing designs, or start completely from scratch and then customize your generated animations. One of Hera's core features is its library of templates, ready-made animation styles you can pick and customize. You can take someone else's template and remix it, change colors, timing, effects, and so on. These are split into sections to make it easier to find a good starting point. Let's edit one so you can actually see how it works. So one of Hera's strengths is the section here that we see under templates. Let's take a quick look at that. So here we can see a whole bunch of headings that basically simplify finding a certain thing you're looking for. So as we're in social media, let's go to that. So what you can do here is you can hover over one of the animations, for example, and it'll give you a preview of how it looks. So we've got a bunch of different things here, as you can see. And there's an end screen here. So you can go through these, and basically, if you choose one, you can then edit it. So let's edit one of these to see how it actually works. Let's take this one here, this Truth Social post, and we click on that. And we can see a bigger preview of it now. Looks pretty good. Let's use this template. And now it's going to give us the options to start editing. So let's go through what we can do here. I'll just pause the animation. So here we have some basic editing tools. And this is like your sort of Canva tools that you find in a program like that. And here we can see we can move and resize things. If we select that tool, we can go to specific parts of the animation and we can change them. So for example, if I wanted to change the year here, I just double click on that and I can change it to 2026, for example. Here we have a tool that we can point at something and then prompt based on that specific thing we're targeting. So we can select that, and then down here you'll see a number 1 appear. And what that means is we've selected something and it says describe what changes you want to this element. So you can basically hone in on an element. So if I said change the text box to say no, it might not know which text box I mean. I could say the top text box, or I could just click on it using this tool here. We also have various tools that you recognize in most editing software. It's a bit quirky, I'm not going to lie. When you use certain of these tools, it can be a bit weird, dragging things around, resizing. There's things it doesn't tell you, like holding down Alt, for example, when you want to resize something but maintain the scale and things like that. It can be a bit quirky, but these basic tools should be understood if you ever used anything like Canva. So let's make some changes here then using the text editor. So I'm going to tell it to change the flag to a UK flag and the Truth Social icon to a YouTube icon. And what we can do here in the text box is we have a ensure good design prompt. It basically takes longer, but it should do a better job in theory. And then we also have this enhance prompt, which will basically create what should be an AI friendly prompt. And it enhances our prompt to make it more concise, make it more direct, and just give better instructions, basically. I'm not going to use that this time. I'm just going to give it these basic instructions and see what happens. So we click this. Now it's going to take some time. Now, what you need to think about is that every change you make is going to take time. And you're going to have to sit here for maybe minutes at a time. So this can be quite a time-consuming process. Now, of course, if you were doing this manually, it would take probably a lot longer. But, do take into account that what you'll see on most videos is people pressing the button and then they'll come back when the animation's complete. Now, I'm probably going to do that myself because otherwise the video might get a little long. But I just want you to see that it's not immediate. It does take time. And I'll come back to this one and show you how long it actually took. Okay, so we can see on the screen now how long it took, and we can see what it's changed. Now, we can see now, let's just pause it again. You can see that it has changed the logo to a YouTube logo. It's done a good job there. It's a nice YouTube logo as well, the right colors and everything. And it's changed the flag pretty well as well. That's a pretty good Union Jack flag for the UK. So it's done quite a good job there. I did have a time when I changed it to a Swedish flag and it did a good job, but when I changed it to a UK flag, it had a terrible version of the Union Jack, which was nothing like it. So this has done a pretty good job. Now what we can do up the top here is we have a history panel, and in that history panel we can go back to previous versions if we made a mistake. It's not perfect. Again, sometimes you click to go back a few steps and they just don't seem to exist, and then you click further back and suddenly you're back at the original again. But it does an okay job most of the time of being able to revert. And of course you have undo as well. Now you have a certain amount of prompts. If you wanted to rerun this prompt again because it made mistakes, you can click here to rerun the last prompt for free, and that doesn't use up your limit of prompts based on whatever plan you have. Okay, if we're happy with this design, what we can then do is we can hit template, type in a name and hit save, and we can decide on my plan, on the Pro plan, whether it's made public or not, so whether other people can see this. On certain plans you don't have an option here, you have to make it public. So if you want your designs to be private, you need to have, I think, the Pro plan at least and upwards. What you can also do is export, and again, based on your plan, you're going to have different options. I have 4K. Do I want a transparent background? So in other words, do I want to get rid of this dark background, which you might want to do? And then you get a certain choice based on that, what type of file you can download, and you've got a frames per second option as well. So that was a very simple edit of somebody else's template, showing you that it did a pretty good job there. We didn't really make too many changes. Let's now have a look at creating a design based on a design you've seen in a YouTube video. Yes, you can do that. Let's take a look and see how well it does. So Callaway here has a lot of motion graphics in his videos. So let's see if we can get Hera to recreate one of his animations. So here, we're going to try and recreate this. Now this is pretty complicated. And what you need to do is you just need to get the URL of the video, which is up the top here. And we copy that. And then we go into Hera and we go to a new design. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to click on video, and we're going to be able to paste in the URL of the video. And then it's going to ask us, when do you want me to look for the animation that you're looking for? And it's 40 to 50 seconds roughly. So let's just click on confirm. We have max of 10 seconds. So let's do that. And it's going to load up the YouTube video. You can see it's correctly done that here. And now we're going to type in recreate this animation, but using blue colors. And what we'll do here is we'll enhance the prompt. Let's see what it does. Because this is now saying, Hera is giving us a much longer description with much more detail. Now, in theory, that should be easier for the AI to do, right? We can't ensure a good design on this particular option. So we're just going to hit go and see what happens. So using a prompt that's generated by the program should be better than our own prompt, right? You'd think. It often is, but it's not always the case. Let's see what sort of job it does here with recreating this animation, and I'll let you know again how long it took. I'll be back when it's done. Okay, we're back and now we can see the animation. Let's take a look. Yeah, I'm going to say that is actually nothing like it. Now, that was a complex animation and we could sit here and try and make tweaks to that. But let's take a look at the version that I did previously and see how that is. So here's a version that I did previously and I've made a few modifications to. You can see this is a bit better, but it's still not quite there. Now, that was a complex animation, I'll give it that. But you can see now some of the limitations. It's doing an okay job. We could maybe make this better, but it's going to take a lot of editing and a lot of time. So, mixed results, I'd say. Now let's create a project completely from scratch. So I've created some prompts here. I'll just paste them in. 6 folders appear on the screen. Each has a different color. They fly in smoothly from different directions from off the screen. They then settle into 2 columns with 3 folders per column. The animation ends and no more movement happens. All elements remain static. Let's click the good design. Let's not prompt it. Let's just let it do its thing. Okay, here we are with our animation. That looks okay. Looks pretty decent. They all come in, they bang into each other, and then they settle. So yeah, not too bad. Let's make them a little different. Let's give it a prompt, say, make the folder icons look more like Windows folders. We'll enhance it and we'll go. Let's see what changes this makes. Okay, let's see what it looks like now. All right, yeah, so it's changed the folder icons slightly to look a little bit more like Windows icons. Let's give it another prompt. Make the folders look more professional and less cartoony. Let's see what it comes up with now. Okay, so yeah, not too bad. It's removed the borders of them, but yeah, they look pretty decent. Let's add one more prompt. We will add a drop shadow to each folder. Let's enhance and let's go. Okay, so here we are with our animation. You can see each one now has a slight drop shadow, which we could obviously prompt it to increase if we wanted, but yeah, it doesn't look too bad. We could maybe separate them out a little bit, have a little bit more space between, or we could have our text coming in on the sides here. But yeah, not too bad. A very simple, let's play it one more time, a very simple but pretty effective animation for your videos. It's done quite a good job there. Let's have a quick look at something where it doesn't do a good job. Here's an animation that is actually a template animation on the site, and I made some changes to it. Now, let's just take a look at it and then I'll explain to you. So here we can see it's popping up boxes, and what I wanted it to do was pop up, or the line needs to keep up with the dots, right? Look, it's getting way behind. All the dots are popping up. That one was already there, didn't even animate in. So let's look at it again. So there's a dot appearing, and that appears at the same time. Not too bad, but the line needs to catch up. Not too bad. So we want the line to keep up with the dots, and that dot just appears out of nowhere for some reason. It hasn't even got a box next to it. So let's try and tell it to, the line must move faster to keep to, let's say, reach each dot as it forms. If it was a normal person, I'd be able to tell them exactly what to do, right? And I'd know what to do. I need this line to go faster, and when these boxes and these dots appear, the line should be reaching them at the same time. Let's enhance the prompt. Animate the connecting stroke so that it accelerates towards each emerging dot. Trim the path end to land exactly on a dot the moment it scales in. Then shorten the keyframe interval on each successive segment to ramp up the speed. I didn't tell it to do that. Apply an exponential ease out on the stroke for snappy kinetic draw. Don't even know what that means. But apparently it does. So let's see what it does. Now you see there it added in stuff that I didn't ask for. Or I don't think I asked for. Now my prompt was pretty basic. Could I spend a lot more time writing that? Yes, but the key part in that is a lot more time. Because if you're having to spend a lot more time doing this, would it then be better to just learn to make it yourself in whatever program you're editing in and just be done with this? So let's see what it does. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. There's a dot. Oh, that was fast. Oh, not too bad. Now it's gone off the screen. That wasn't too bad, actually, considering some of my previous efforts. The line was moving quite quickly. We didn't really tell it to speed up. And now it's gone off the screen. So we then have to try and prompt it to get it to the screen to be, or the animation to be visible on the screen while it forms. So the screen needs to scroll a little faster so that all dots appear while inside the visible viewport. I'm not sure if it's going to understand that, but that's the best way I can describe it. Let's enhance that prompt and see what it comes up with. Inside, increase the scroll speed by 30% and apply a linear motion curve so that each dot fully enters and exits the visible viewport without clipping. All right, let's see what it comes up with there. This is where it can become difficult, because you have to be able to articulate what you want, but it's fairly obvious to you, and it's fairly obvious probably to a designer, because you could sit there on a call with them and be showing them, even if they're in a different country, you could be showing them what it is exactly you want. You know, that dot's gone off the screen, that needs to be on the screen, and they wouldn't do that anyway, because a designer wouldn't make that mistake in the first place, because it wouldn't make any sense from a design perspective. So this is where it starts to become more time consuming and frustrating. And what can suddenly happen is that you make a change that you think is an innocent small change, and suddenly the entire design is completely changed. And I find that with a lot of AI stuff. And I'm purposely not going too crazy on the prompts here, because I want to test it a little bit. You know, I want to push it. But I think what I've written is fairly accurate and obvious of what you'd want. But let's see. Because clearly it doesn't know that it shouldn't go off the screen, which is a flaw in itself. Okay, let's see what it's done. Here we are. This is exactly what I'm talking about. A massive pause. That one's gone off the screen. That one's almost formed off the screen now. That one's not too bad. I mean, yeah, we want all this centered, really. We want the others to remain on the screen, and then that one just formed at the top. Let's just look at that one more time so you can see. Let's see. We've got at least a 5 second, 6, 7 second pause, then suddenly one of forming at the top of the screen, another one. You don't even get really a chance to read them properly. We want everything centered. So you see how it's changed things, and it has actually made everything inside the viewport, but it's now moved everything way up the screen for no particular reason. And now we need to tell it, move everything to the center. Let me try. Okay, center the entire animation to the middle of the screen so that the boxes stay on the screen longer so the viewer has time to read them. Otherwise, keep everything else the same. Let's enhance it. Align the entire sequence to the center of the viewport by shifting all anchor points and keyframe positions accordingly. For each information box, extend the on-screen hold before triggering its exit animation to allow more reading time. Preserve the original entrance and exit transitions, easing curves, movement paths, and styling. Whew. All right, well, let's see what it does. Now, could you think up a prompt like that? Well, maybe. I'm not sure I could, but I'm sure I could enhance my prompt somewhat. But that's the point of that button, isn't it? To try and enhance it, to make it do a better job. So I wonder if I wrote exactly that, would it just say, oh, that's a great suggestion, and it wouldn't need to enhance it at all? I'm sure it would make changes itself anyway. So I don't know. You can see now where it starts to get more difficult. And this is what people don't show you. They don't show you the sort of trial and error. They don't show you the amount of time it takes, and they don't show you the failures. They literally just show you, they might do 20 designs and only, let's say, 10 of them work, and they just show you 3 of those. They won't show you the failures. And I'm trying to show you the actual reality of this thing so you know what you're getting yourself into if you do use it. Okay, here we go. Let's see what it does this time. We forgot to tell it to take away the long pause at the beginning, but that doesn't matter. You could edit that out anyway. Okay, yeah, it's more centered now, but now the boxes are not moving with the dots, which we didn't tell it to do. We didn't tell them to stop moving. Yeah. I think you see it's great, but it has issues. And I think that hopefully illustrates it to you. This is the reality, I think, of many times when you're creating something, is you'll get these type of problems and you may be able to fix it, but in the end, you might just give up on it because it's so frustrating, because you just keep going backwards rather than forwards. Some of my tips would be try and make as good prompts as you can. Use the enhance button to make them better. You can combine the prompts with the manual editing options that we looked at earlier to maybe direct it exactly what you want, or manually change them yourself, although there's limitations on that. You can provide source material in the form of images, video, audio, and so on to tell it what fonts to use. You can even use data. If you're using creating a table or a chart, you can actually import Excel data that it will be able to use. And understand it can't do everything, and you can at least jump in and test on the free version. Let's take a look at the plans now. So you can see here I have the Pro plan, and if I go to subscriptions, we can see the plans. I can't see the free one, but I'll put the numbers for that on the screen, the important numbers. Now I have this Pro plan, $40 a month. You can see here you have the stealth mode where you can keep your things private there. You can pause that and read that if you want. And I have a certain amount of prompts and stuff. This is enough and a lot, and export to 4K because I upload 4K video. You can see the plans. There's a $20 a month and there's a free version, which you can do a certain amount of stuff that you'll see on the screen. What you can do is create an animation with no text, export that animation, and then you have it to use in your projects. And then you just need to create the text part in, say, CapCut, which has good tools for text anyway. Because then you can get a bunch of assets from Hera and not have to come back into the program. You can build your own exported library of different motion graphics that you can keep reusing, meaning potentially you don't then need to pay every month. But if you need to re-edit things regularly, or you want the simplicity of coming in here, changing elements within Hera like text, color, etc., then you might want to maintain a basic subscription for that. So what's my overall take on Hera as a motion graphics creator? Hera AI is an impressive tool at times, capable of surprising you with high quality animations and an accurate grasp of your prompts. But it's also inconsistent, and when it struggles with even simple changes, it can quickly become frustrating. Like many AI tools I've tested, things go well for a while and you think you've actually found the holy grail, a genius tool that understands exactly what you want. But then suddenly, out of nowhere, you try to make a small, almost insignificant change, and the AI suddenly completely destroys your project, removing things that you hadn't asked it to, or making the problems you wanted fixed 10 times worse. Sometimes in the space of a single prompt, your project becomes unrecognizable, and all you wanted was to do something simple like change the location of a single button. Unfortunately, Hera suffers from this problem too. So overall, it's worth exploring if you're willing to be patient with its quirks. That said, it's not a full replacement for a skilled designer or for developing your own creative abilities. While it delivers quick, decent results, it still lacks the depth of understanding you'd get when working with a human, for example, or from building the exact design you envisioned yourself. If you do want to check it out, I have an affiliate link in the description below that will save you 15%. But only do that if you think I've given you a fair assessment of Hera AI and you understand its pros and cons. Hope this has been helpful. Take care. Thanks for watching.